If you've ever said to yourself or thought to yourself, I don't know if I'm going to be able to retire, I guess I'll just work forever, this episode is especially reaching out to you here. Welcome to Aspire to Retire with Ralph Short, Tim Short, and Scott Earhart of Welcome Home Financial Partners. You can find them online at welcomehomefp.com. Made it real easy for you. If you just open up the podcast description, the link's right there are going to take you to their page and all their socials as well, welcomehomefp.com. My name is Chris Swan, and I'm pleased to be joined by the one and only Ralph Short, Tim Short, and Scott Earhart of Welcome Home Financial Partners. Gentlemen, glad to be with you.
Always a pleasure, Chris.
Thanks so much for taking time to spend with the listeners here. And like I said there, I know that we have listeners right now, and they may have either said it themselves or heard people say, you know what, I guess I'm just going to work forever. But I want them to listen to the statistic. Even though it is true, there are more people working into their 70s. By 75, 92% of the people in this country, they are, in fact, retired. So it's coming. You're probably not going to die at your desk. Certainly hope that's not the case. If someone is listening, though, right now, and they say, I guess I'm just going to work forever, that's the attitude they have. What is your message to them?
Is this question pointing to me for a certain reason?
No. I'm sorry. I wasn't pointing at you. I was just kind of moving my hands. I'm sorry about that.
What I would say to anybody is, what's wrong with that if that's what you want to do? Mm-hmm. It's all about you. If you're enjoying what you're doing, why sit down and spend the rest of your life twiddling your thumbs in front of a TV set, when you could be doing something you enjoy, whether it's a hobby or whether it's volunteering or whatever.
Or you could sit on a dock with your wife for the rest of your life too.
But at the same time, everybody's goal is a little bit different in life. What I would say, I'll give you an example of somebody that came in a year or so ago, and he knew that same comment, I'm going to have to work forever because I don't have a lot of money saved up. And I always tell people, during our process, we're going to kind of show you what your retirement is going to look like. It's going to be visualization of your actual cash flow in your retirement years to see if you can retire or not. So he was saying that he didn't have enough money. He had about $300,000. So we went through a process, and I would tell him, I said, financially, you don't have a lot of money. However, you've done the right things because you don't have a lot of debt. So it's the two-edged sword. So when we got done with him, he had, between his pension and Social Security, he had about $2,000 more a month than he needed to live on. And he looked at me and said, are you telling me I can retire? And I said, if you want to, yeah, based on the numbers. Mm-hmm. Guess what? He left the office, went to his boss and said, here's my 2 weeks.
Wow.
So it just depends on that individual, whether you want to do that, or we got some people say, I enjoy what I'm doing. I'm going to stay here and worry everybody to death until I'm ready to retire.
Yeah, and I think that's big, right? If you want to work because you enjoy it, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of people think that they have to work and that's their retirement plan. So, to kind of highlight the retirement roadmap process that we do, we've seen a lot of people that think that they can't retire. And then we go through the process, look at the roadmap and recommendations, and they're surprised and they're happy, right? A lot of people don't want to work until their 70s, 80s, or 90s. So I think it's important to point out that a lot of people take a look at inflation and they feel like inflation's bad, that's going to wreck my retirement. Well, that's not the end all be all, but there's a lot of other things that come into it, like the high cost of living in the stock market. So the stock market's been recently a little volatile, and I think that might continue. But if you got all of your eggs in one basket and that basket happens to be the market, maybe you might have to work until 70, 80, or 90 years old if you don't take a look at it. So you got to worry about things that you have control over. One of that is your spending habit, right? Ralph was just talking about the guy he was talking with did really good as far as managing his debt. He didn't have any, mm-hmm. right? So there's a lot of people we've seen in the past that if they're making a good salary, their spending habits aren't very good. So if somebody's, getting an annual salary of $200,000 and they want to maintain that in retirement, but you don't save up, what kind of plan is that? So you've really got to focus on what you have control over.
Oh, absolutely. And, I think a lot about my father-in-law when I have this conversation. My father-in-law is a successful man, business owner, has done very, very well for himself. And he is of the opinion he is going to die at his desk. That is, he loves to work, and that's what he wants. And it makes him happy. And there's nothing wrong with that. But where I believe he's fallen short is he's never really paid attention to his retirement portfolio. He just, boom, go over there. Company works, whatever retirement plan they have for their company. That's what he does. He's never thought about it. and doesn't want to deal with it. So for those people, I would tell them, don't do that, because there may come a day when you do want to retire, or there may come a day when your health tells you you can't go to work. And then if you, as Tim was saying, if you've got all your eggs in one basket, or you don't have some level of plan for what if this changes, what if I'm going to die behind my 6 feet of mahogany, doesn't happen there. I mean, we can't predict what's going to happen in life. And sometimes life happens to us, and you need to be as prepared for it as you can.
Yeah. And what I would say as a retirement focused fiduciary, planning goes a long way when it comes to your retirement. It's not just a DIY project at that point in time. And I would rather work on the retirement than work in retirement for most people's sentiment. So, why not enjoy retirement without the worry and stress of money or finance? Go do the things that you want to do. Okay. But you need to have a plan. And without somebody really helping you develop that plan, like our retirement roadmap, it's kind of difficult, because most people aren't trained in these type of things in their lifetime.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks that aren't aware of what they have or what they're currently doing. I'm working with a lady right now who just came into office. She's 49 years old, and we're going through the collecting all the info from her for the roadmap, and she saved up about $350,000, she thinks. And we're like, well, what do you mean you think? And she goes, I think I still have another 401k from a previous employer, and I think it was around another 120,000. I look at her, I was like, well, what do you mean you think? And she goes, I've never paid attention. I have no idea what the investments are. I have no idea what it's doing. That's why I'm here.
Wow. That's
For most people, Ralph, I told Ralph this saying, I don't know, maybe a year ago or so. I heard it. It was a college football interview. And one of the guys that was going to the draft last year said, my coach always told me to be a pro, be personally responsible for my own outcome, be a pro. And that's what I tell everybody. You're personally responsible for the outcome. So an old 401k that's just sitting there, not doing anything that you don't have control of, you're not being personally responsible for that. Let us help you get control of that and get you heading in the direction you want to be.
Yeah, in retirement, it's about having a team behind you too, right? A lot of people go at it alone when it's your accumulation phase. Hey, I've got this 401k. I'm going to put it in XYZ fund. Let's sit it and forget it. And then let's approach it when I'm 60 and I want to retire. That's not a good thing to do, right? So when you're in that retirement red zone that we talk about, 5 years, maybe 10 years away from retirement, then let's really sit down. Let's hone in on what you're doing, what you could be doing better, what you should change in order to retire when you want. Because most folks now, they don't want to work into their 60s, right? I fall into that category. So we have to make sure that we have the income, because that's what retirement's all about.
Yeah. Speaking of that retirement red zone, Ralph, I mean, you're probably 5 to 10 years away from entering into that retirement red zone. So you might want to start.
Years,
might want to start thinking about that.
He's working on his 2-point conversion at this point.
All right. So the one thing I would say to anybody out there, you need to know, to the point that Tim brought up just a minute ago, the number of people that come in that leave their 401ks when they leave another job and forget about it, because life gets in the way.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with a client that retired, or not retired, but left a job, 35 years ago. And we took some investigative steps to figure out where it is. And she did not realize they had paid it out to her 20 years ago.
Wow.
And she just forgot about it. She just said, I know I got one. So those are things that you need to be aware of when you start thinking about retirement.
We talk so often here about controlling what you can control, and orphan 401ks, as they're sometimes known, that is something that you can't control. You can move that over into, a self-directed fund or roll it over to your other account. There is a big difference between the phrase, I would like to work forever, and I have to work forever, that desire to versus that necessity. Either way that you look at it, sometimes that decision isn't up to us. It's taken out of our hands, be it healthcare, be it, financial layoffs at the job, things like that. And so you still need to have a plan in place. And if you're in that latter category where you think that you have to work forever, if you start putting that plan in place, you may find out that you're in better shape than you thought. You may find out that, there is, in fact, a couple things that you need to be doing, but it puts you in a better mindset to say, okay, if I start doing X, Y, and Z, retirement is actually attainable. It's all going to come down to your personal circumstances. And again, controlling what you can control, like clicking the link right there in the podcast description, going to the website, welcomehomefp.com, whether it is just finding out more about the team, setting up time to speak with them, clicking on the events tab, finding out about these First Friday events they've got going on. It's all available for you there. And starting that process is as simple as reaching out. Again, welcomehomefp.com. Another thing when you have accounts that are out of sight, out of mind, that may be diminishing them is, fees. I think we all kind of hate fees, especially the hidden ones. Like comedian Sebastian Maniscalco, he was talking about this recently, and this time he's not laughing about anything.
You know what ain't right? Went to a restaurant last night, and I got the bill, and they charged me a COVID fee. And I asked the guy, I go, what's the COVID fee? He goes, yeah, we got to wipe down the menus. Wipe down the menus. You charging $3 to wipe down your own menus? Before COVID, what? You just brought out the menu with spaghetti sauce on it? Eliminate the COVID fee. And they charged me 3.5% credit card fee because I was using the credit card. It's a bad look. It's a real bad look as a business. Absorb the fee. It's called the cost of doing business. It ain't right.
You could tell he was being seriously immediately because his voice is like 2 octaves lower than he is when he's doing his routine. How many times have you guys reviewed someone's 401k, whether it is their current job or one that they maybe forgot about 20 years ago, look for the fees and just said to yourselves, it ain't right?
Oh, it happens quite a bit, but it's not just with people's 401ks. If they have a current advisor or a past advisor, right, it's time to take a look at those fees. We've never seen a COVID fee yet on a 401k, but I can understand his frustration for sure. So, a lot of people, they take a look at the fees and they're like, there's nothing wrong with a fee, but you have to provide some value for the fee, right? So charging, whatever it was, $3 to wipe down the menus, that's crazy. So you've got to focus in on what am I getting out of this fee? With your 401k, you're going to see some admin or bookkeeping fees. There's going to be some other fees. Do you feel like you're getting a value? Most people, when they have their 401k, they're not speaking to anybody. You sit down with them and you say, hey, who selected these investment options? And say, well, I did. Well, why did you do it? I don't know. I like the name. I've had that happen before.
Sure.
So you really have to pay attention to what you're doing, because if you're saving for 30 years and you're saving in the wrong funds or vehicle, are you really going to accumulate the way that you need to in order to have that retirement income? So, but once again, there's a lot of people that just focus on like the advisor fee and say, hey, he's only charging me X percent, but then look at these funds and look at all the other hidden fees that you've got. So that's very important. And a lot of people don't want to take the time and sit down and really have that serious conversation of, well, I'm not getting any value of it. Why am I paying the fee? Well, that's a really good question.
Absolutely. It's a great question. I'd encourage anybody that is nearing their retirement to sit down with a financial professional and just take a look at it. There's this beautiful term in group benefits or in group retirement planning that not a lot of people are aware of. And it's kind of sneaky to me. It's called embedded fees, that most people don't realize that even if you look at what you're being charged on paper where it says charges and what you're paying your manager, that's not your total fee. A lot of funds have what are known as embedded fees. So a 25 basis point, 10 basis point fee. If you add everything up, I've seen accounts where people are paying north of 5-6% in total fees, and they thought they were paying 1.5, 2. So it's definitely worth putting a financial professional's eyes on it. And it's not the case with every single account. I'm not trying to scare everybody, but have somebody that knows what they're looking at, put their eyes on it, give you the understanding of what you're actually paying for. And as Tim said, if you find value, if you are getting value for the fee, then it's worthwhile. Sure. But a lot of times you're not getting value in a group plan.
I would also say to people that they need to understand no matter what you do in life, there's going to be some type of cost to it for you. How many times do we get a bill in from, say, our wireless bill, and we just go ahead and write a check and pay it off? Do we go through it and say, all right, this is how many minutes I use, this is for data, but all of a sudden we look down, there are state taxes, there are federal taxes, there are communications fees. And all of a sudden you got $25 or $30 of that $70 bill that's things that you never utilize because those are fees that's in there. So it's just not about financial products, but everything that you do will have fees and stuff in it. That's why you need to investigate it and continue on.
For my birthday, my wife bought me a concert tickets, and something I'm really excited to do. But she handed it to me, and she handed it to me with the receipt. I know what it cost. They put it all out there, and I looked at Ticketmaster, and we went from the price. I mean, we just paid $186 in fees on top of. I mean, so you got to be careful. Do I find value in those fees? I don't know what Ticketmaster did for me. I shouldn't throw Ticketmaster under the bus. Whoever it is, did it. But
and it's important to point out, we talk about the retirement roadmap a lot, but part of that process is we do take a look at your statements and we analyze the fees, right? Mm-hmm. So there's some people that come in and, they've been retired for a while, and sometimes they don't want to work on the roadmap because they feel pretty comfortable as far as their income, but they want kind of a second opinion on their investments. And part of that second opinion is we are going to sit down, we're going to take a look at the investments, we're going to take a look at the fees, and then we'll get back with you in another meeting for recommendations. And that's important because a lot of folks really don't have any kind of idea of what's really happening. So it's very important to sit down with a financial professional, and we'll sit down and analyze what you have in the second opinion process.
So Chris, let me ask you a question. How many people do you think when they receive their quarterly statements from their 401ks, what do they do? What do you do?
Well, I'll tell you, from a sample size of one, I'll take it. I'll if I even open it, which is rare, I'll kind of thumb through it, but I'm not taking a deep dive, and then it goes either filed away or probably in recycling, honestly.
You probably look at, all right, did I gain any money this quarter?
Yeah.
Right.
Go up?
That's probably the only thing that you look, if you did open it. You did bring up a very valid point there.
Yeah, I don't think it's, again, that's a sample size of one, but I don't think it's that uncommon. When it comes to value, talking about this, that's a subjective thing as well. I have a friend of mine who, he works from home, and he will DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatever and have food delivered to him. And it's always like, for McDonald's or things like that. And that, I would never go in business with my friend. I'm going to go ahead and say that. But that for him, that's what he decides is of value to him. It's rather than getting out there and or making his own food, things like that. I don't mean to turn this into a whole session about him, but it is about that personal opinion. If you feel like you're getting value for something, whether that is your phones, whether that is the concert ticket convenience charges, air quotes there, and your 401ks, I feel like that one is a little harder to ascertain because. Like you pointed out, people don't necessarily look at those. So if the math hasn't really been looking right for you, or you just want that second set of eyes on it because you don't actually know how much you're paying, it's a good time to reach out to the team at Welcome Home Financial Partners, Ralph Short, Tim Short, Scott Earhart. Have them do that fee analysis. Have them, start creating that retirement roadmap for you to see how you can make sure that whether it be taxes, whether it be market return, whatever it is that you're getting as much value as possible. That all starts with reaching out to the website, welcomehomefp.com. Again, it's right there in the podcast.
For information purposes
feel free to click through.
It is not intended to provide any tax or legal advice.
I want to thank you for joining us here on Aspire to Retire. As we always do, really do appreciate you taking the time. Ralph, Tim, and Scott, appreciate you guys taking the time. As we wrap up here, I want to leave you with the final word.
Are solely those of Welcome Home Financial Partners and Welcome
really
Home Wealth Advisors LLC. Information contained in this material has been derived from sources believed to be reliable, but is not guaranteed as to accuracy and completeness, and does not purport to a complete analysis of the materials discussed. All information and ideas should be discussed in detail with your individual advisor prior to the implementation. Each individual investor's situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstance. Advisor services are offered by Welcome Home Wealth Advisors LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Virginia. Being registered as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. Insurance products and services are offered through WPI Holding, Virginia Insurance License Number 138509, an affiliated company. The information contained herein should in no way be construed or interpreted as a solicitation to sell or offer to sell advisory services to any resident of any state other than the state of Virginia or where otherwise legally permitted. Welcome Home Wealth Advisors LLC and Welcome Home Financial Partners are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency.